Dueling rallies right now. The former Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who's weighing a run for president, is leading a march to counter President Trump's pro-wall rally in El Paso. It's a busy night in Texas, and it is a rally, Beto's at least, that has caught President Trump's attention.
We have a line that is very long already. I mean, you see what's going on. And I understand our competitors got a line too, but it's a tiny little line.
Is that new emoticon? Tiny little, is that anyway, out front now, Patrick Healy, political editor for the New York Times, Amy Kramer, co-founder and co-chair of Women for Trump, and Karen Finney, former senior spokesperson for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Patrick, okay, this is risky for Beto, not just because the president's going to compare his lines, but, you know, is this a stunt or is it a smart move in your view?
Yeah, I mean, I think Beto needs, this is his hometown, this is an issue that he knows well, but he also is coming off of a Senate race and a career in Congress where he was seen as, you know, a moderate on a lot of issues, where he's relatively undefined politically, and by, in appearances at least, standing up to Trump in his hometown on the wall, speaking the truth about crime and about safety and sort of the limits of what a physical barrier can do in El Paso. He has the potential to appeal to progressives who may be a little suspect. Beto's getting ready to announce his decision about running for president. There are a lot of signs that, you know, he's leaning toward it. And the reality is he's going to have to very quickly start appealing to the progressive wing of the party that in Texas may have felt pretty good about him, but nationally may be suspect. So taking Trump on is, you know, is one good way to do it.
Well, right, and you get a lot of people who would love that, who may not necessarily think he's progressive enough. I mean, Karen, you know, one of the things about Beto O'Rourke is that, you know, since he left Congress, he's been blogging, right? He had the Senate run, came close, but not close enough. And then he took a road trip to Kansas. And in one of his blog posts he wrote, have been stuck lately in and out of a funk. By O'Rourke's own admission to Patrick's New York Times, it echoes his life in New York City. When he was in early 20s, he described himself as stuck and in and out of a quote-unquote funk. Now, Karen, I hate to think of what this kind of a blog post would do to a woman's aspirations who was running for president. But we are talking about Beto O'Rourke. Will this hurt him or not?
Well, I think it is a fair point to make that it would be received very differently from a woman and we'd be having potentially a very different conversation. Yeah. I do think regardless, though, Beto is going to, if he does decide to get into the race, and frankly, if he decides to run for any office further down the line, he's going to have some sort of explanation about what this time was about for him. And there's one other thing I just would point out about his showing up at this event in Texas. Don't forget that the Texas primary is Super Tuesday. So if you're thinking about running for president, you want to make sure you're reminding folks that you're still very popular in a key Super Tuesday state.
Right, and obviously, you know, I know the Clinton campaign had infamously positioned Texas as possibly a swing state, and obviously that was not the case. Okay, Amy, let me ask you though. I just played the president, right? He referenced Beto's rally. That's perhaps the biggest compliment of all. Okay, he brought it up, right? He doesn't bring you up if he doesn't, you know, want to draw attention to you. But you know, then talking about his tiny little lines, is that a sign that Beto's getting under the president's skin?
I don't think so, Aaron. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Beto being down there today and doing this rally. And look, he wants to raise his name ID. He wants more recognition. And he is part of this, I say younger generation, but this crowd that, you know, uses social media, is out there blogging, you know, filming when he's at the dentist, whatnot. And I think he's enamored with seeing himself out there. And that's okay. I mean, a lot of politicians are. I don't think it's a sign of him getting under the president's skin. But anybody that wants
Trump
to raise,
watching. I mean, he brought him up.
Right. But anybody that wants to raise their name ID, you know that if you go after the president, I mean, he usually punches back. And so it can raise your name ID.
All right, I want to talk about Kamala Harris, Patrick, because this is really interesting. Okay, today she was on a radio show and she addressed her race, you know, which is a very interesting conversation and very personal to everybody. But in her case, she's supposed to be the black woman candidate. She was asked about it. Here's what she said.
A lot of black people question if Barack was black enough. I see them doing the same thing to you. So what do you say to the people questioning the legitimacy of your blackness?
I think they don't understand who black people are. So I'm not going to spend my time trying to educate people about who black people are. But I'm black.
Yes.
And I'm proud of being black.
Absolutely.
And I was born black. I will die black. And I'm proud of being black. And I'm not going to make any excuses for anybody because they don't understand.
Karen, what do you say?
Well, I have to say this is a personal issue for me because I also happen to be biracial, and I get this question all the time, what are you? I get told I'm not black enough, and I sort of always ask the question, well, what does that mean? And what I really appreciated about her response is she is very comfortable with who she is, her blackness, the life that she has led, and that is the perspective from which she is going to answer questions and talk about issues. And I think she was right, frankly, when she pointed out that raising this question, as we saw, with Barack Obama, was a way to try to divide people and as a way to try to say, well, is he black enough, and to try to question what blackness is. And the thing that I would tell you that I find personally offensive when we have these conversations about is somebody, it's like, is she woman enough or is she tough enough as a woman?
Right.
Men, women, black people, Latinos, we don't just vote for people because we share the same gender or the same skin color. Don't think that just because she's a black woman, she's going to automatically get the black vote. We're going to, black voters are going to hold all of the candidates accountable for their records and ask tough questions. And it's not, women don't just vote for women. Women are going to be tough on all the candidates as well.
I mean, Patrick, how important is this going to be for her? I mean, that was a very impassioned and strong response. Obviously, that she's responding to people saying, "Well, are you African American? You're biracial. You're part of your family's from Jamaica, part of them from India. You're not African American in that sense. She's married to someone who's white. Is this going to go away, or are people going to continue criticizing her unfairly?
I think she gave a really strong response,
Yeah.
and if she sticks to that, she sounded. I know it sounds funny, but she sounded very human, very genuine.
Right.
She was.
Well, it's how she
speaking,
sees herself.
Absolutely,
from her heart.
and that's the best. I think Karen can speak to this too. I mean, that is the best answer that a politician can give in this regard. I mean, if memes and trolls and people want to come after her or anyone else and sit in judgment of how they talk about their race and their heritage, that is always a part of the underbelly of a political conversation. But I think for a lot of voters, they're going to be paying more attention to policy and issues and trying to relate to her and take
whether she
take her
connects.
measure.
I mean, because Amy, this is going to be a big question for President Trump, right? I mean, he's the one who started the whole birther thing with Barack Obama, and times have changed, and she is a different candidate. She was asked about it today. Here's what she said.
Look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us, and so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division among us. Mm-hmm. And so we need to recognize when we're being played.
Amy, does the president need to be more careful with her than he was when he started the whole birther thing?
Well, Aaron, he didn't start it. Actually, Hillary Clinton's campaign started that.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I believe that these candidates are going to be judged on their policies and platforms, what their ideology is, and that is
but
what
would you
people
advise
should.
him, Amy, to stay away from questioning?
Stay away from what?
To stay away from questioning her, who she is racially, how she defines herself, as he did not do with Barack Obama.
I think that every person out there and these candidates should be comfortable. I actually commend her for being comfortable in her own skin and standing up for who she is. We all should be that way. And I will say, she is the one candidate that I think Republicans are underestimating. She worries me. As a woman, I like her. I don't like her policies. I certainly don't support Medicare for all. But as a woman that lives in suburban Atlanta, I can see that she can get some traction, and the Republicans better be paying attention.